When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when
And we're live.
So is this view in the background like something live where I'm seeing someone?
So you just screwed up my intro. Good job.
Thanks.
We're professionals.
Very professional.
Indeed us. Welcome everyone. This is Radio 3305 with our weekly interview on Friday, and this time we've got Canonn Research Department, R&D Canonn stuff guys here.
Yes,
we've got
two people this time.
yes, two minimum. At least we are 5 right now. So we've got Chankk and Dr. Nagi with me.
Over on video,
Yo.
you know me.
Yeah, Chankk is doing the video stream, so get over there and watch it. And we've got Elefol and Dimihafi. Is that how I pronounce it?
You can just call me DM. It's much easier.
DM. All right. Yeah. Hello, DM, and hello, Elefol. I hope I pronounced that one right.
You're like the first person to ever pronounce it right on the first try.
Yeah, I'm awesome like that.
You can also just call me Eli.
Eli. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit easier. So welcome. We are going to interview you guys about your project Canonn RD. I will let Dr. Nagi handle the questions.
Yeah. First question: what actually does R&D stand for?
So R&D is research and development, and it was a department that started out of the spawn of the Guardians.
So that's just one of many departments of Canonn Research.
Yeah, many. Most of our departments deal with the specific sciences. There are a handful of us that deal with other internal Canonn functions.
All right. Okay. Before we get deeper into that, I would like to know, how did you guys get into Elite Dangerous?
Can I actually back up even further than that? About 3 years.
Shoot.
All right. So, if you want to give us maybe a 1 minute each, what is Canonn?
Canonn is the special group of people, the tinfoilers that don't really fit in with any of the other groups. So, we're kind of like the Sweden of Elite Dangerous. We just kind of sit there and do all the things that nobody else wants to do.
Well,
Comparison I don't get.
so speaking on behalf of R&D, we're at least the part of Canonn that really likes spreadsheets.
He's not wrong.
So you're talking to Cone Lethalot then?
We called him the spreadsheet nerd.
Yeah. The king
Well,
of spreadsheets.
I know both me and Elifil both come from an EVE Online background, which is, as many people know, it's a spreadsheet simulator.
Oh my!
True.
I was literally in a conversation earlier this evening with somebody in the FleetCom voice chat about Eve, and that one of my main problems or gripes with Eve was that it integrated the spreadsheet element into turning it just mashed it all together into one thing, whereas I think in Elite there is so much information, so much data to compile and go through if you're interested in that. But in in other games, it tends to lose its focus on being a living, breathing simulation world that we can experience. You know, it loses some element of feeling like you're there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I can say that out of 100%. So
And, like-
following along with Nog,
There's an old Eve meme that applies to this very well.
but yeah, following into Nagi's question too, what got me into Elite was specifically related to that immersion, that getting into the universe and being a part of it. I mean, there was a minor bit of that in Eve, but Elite takes it to a whole new.
And
agree.
I don't know about Nagi or Mykl. They do know about some of the weird stuff that I've done, but it does feel like this kind of galaxy, this world where you can sit there and be the guy who crunches number. Like, I don't know if you know AW. I know he's not part of
don't.
Canonn, but he does a lot of stuff in FleetCom where, and even just himself, where he just crunches numbers and he does math, like real life maths, to figure out like the Newtonian physics of planetary orbits and like how to actually like orbit a planet. Like, he can be like, oh, this planet has this much mass and this is how big it is, so you need to be, if you're at 500 kilometers above the surface traveling at 300 meters a second, you just turn off your thrusters and turn your FA off, and then just shut everything down, and you will literally orbit the planet because you are flying at the exact orbital velocity to fly around the planet without hitting it. And like and like so you can be that guy, but you can also be the guy who's just like, I like pretty pictures and still enjoy what we have in Elite, you know?
You're describing Canonn practically perfectly, because we have quite a number of members that, I mean, they do science in their real life jobs. I mean, I can name a handful of people that actually have degrees in astrophysics and rocket science and actual like NASA people and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Canonn is quite a large group. Can you tell us more about how this group formed in the beginning?
I wasn't around for it, but I'm well versed in our lore, so to speak. So as far as I remember, I actually think 2 days from now, I think will be our 4-year anniversary, something like that. But it all started with Dr. Art Canonn, who's the myth, the legend. And our name actually comes from the fact that he doesn't know how to spell. So yeah,
So,
we
should it be Canonn, like
So-
the weapon, or like the cannon, like multiple people agreeing on something or singing?
It's never really been determined, but I think most of the myth just comes from the fact that we believe Dr. Art Canonn didn't know how to spell cannon, as in the weapon cannon. So there's that.
So very much in line with Google.
Yeah, pretty much. But now it's gotten to the point where I start seeing people spell cannon like as they're talking about the weapon, like we spell our names. But the gist of it came about with the UAs and the UA bubble, and just finding that little tiny piece of Thargoids. And it spiraled out of control from there. And then we started bringing in a bunch of conspiracy theorists and tinfoil hatters and scientists and etc.
Just for the guys who don't know, can you quick explain what a UA is?
It stands for an unknown artifact. It was, I forget what the new term for it is now. It's
Aren't they
Thargoid
Thargoid sensors?
Thargoid sensors. That's it. We have the links and Guardian relics, and there's just too much. But yeah, originally the UA, somebody found it, figured out that it does something, and then we started trying to piece the puzzle together and figure out what it does.
And so all the people who are trying to figure out stuff banded together.
Yeah, I think the first initial couple of people, the founders, were like Red Wizard and Wishblend and Del Monte.
Oh, Wishman is in there too.
One of the early founders, I believe.
I didn't know that.
I didn't. Yeah, either.
Yeah, Rat King. I will say most of our original founders are currently inactive. They've taken some leave time. Our Canonn still pops in every once in a while just to mess with us.
Yeah, to be fair, there isn't much going on right now, I would say. Or how would you view the current situation in Elite?
In terms of discovery, I will agree with you. It has calmed down quite a bit, which is actually a nice breather for once, because normally Canon's always on high alert. We're always throwing conspiracy theories around. There's always a search for Raxla and et cetera, but with the recent upgrades with our ship firmware, R&D has been busier than ever for sure.
And speaking of things currently going on, there is a megaship called Venosis, which is the only player-controlled megaship in the game, belonging to Canonn.
Sort of player controlled. We submit flight plans to Frontier, and then they make it
Approve.
happen.
Yeah, so it's more like an indirect control.
Yeah, so it's a pretty indirect control, but
As far as I'm aware, the original purpose of the Gnosis was to be the playground training of the character. We were meant to be the guinea pigs, being
Feed
as
carriers.
yeah, basically.
Yeah, that got cut off.
Because of Canon's how do I want to put it? Our neutral nature, we did not have the potential to use it in such a way that could be damaging to other player groups, hence the reason why it was given to us over one of the normal player groups.
Yeah, it sounds pretty reasonable. We actually do have one who's watching the stream who's currently on board of Gnosis. And the ship is going somewhere at the moment. Can you tell us more about that?
I'm not entirely up to date with the flight plan, but last I was read into was we are jumping it into a region of space that is not currently accessible by normal ship jump drive.
yeah, unlike our, we'll just say previous venture, this isn't a system that's permit locked or anything, or behind a wall of permit locks. It's just so far down below the galactic plane.
Or even
that
behind
the
a wall of
stars around it are
Thargoids. I mean, that's the best thing you can get.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, wall of Thargoids. Yeah, but it's so far below the galactic plane that we're going to that with current limits of how far you can engineer your ships, there's no ship capable of jumping far enough besides the Gnosis, since it has a 500 light year jump range, and the furthest you could really push, pretty sure it's still Anacondas that have the longest range.
So is that only one system, or are there a group of systems there that then can be accessed by the ships once the close enough?
I haven't actually looked.
I haven't
as far
actually-
as I'm aware.
Go ahead.
Last I saw, I think the system we're in now, there's a handful of systems you can get to, unless you have a condo with the ridiculously ludicrous jump range. But yeah, there should be some science around for us to, get some scans, throw it into the Pilots Federation, etc.
Yeah, our current location is still technically reachable, but you have to use FSD injections to get there.
Yeah.
And you have to have an Anaconda with a ludicrous jump range.
If you want to come join us, you best get your ass in gear and get some.
Yeah, I'm
injection.
like 50,000 light years away,
Yeah.
so I can't. I'm not yet at Beagle Point, and
I I had to catch up to the Gnosis 2 days ago, and I did 225 jumps without a break.
How long did it take you?
A couple hours.
Well,
Yeah,
I
for those who don't know, that region of space we are talking about is underneath the bubble. So
Yes.
not that far away from civilized space, but obviously completely away from distant worlds 2, where most of us are currently on.
I
Yeah.
already have a name for the region. Let's call it Guardian Exile.
I'm hoping we'll find some Guardian stuff out there. It would be nice and refreshing to find another bubble.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I know there are some ruins close to the core, which is a
Oh,
bit
yeah.
surprising.
We've got, I think last I looked at the data, I think it was about 6 bubbles, something like that.
Do you have any idea why they might have spread out that far from each other?
If I had to guess, it would probably be politics. It's been a little while since I've brushed up on the Codex data from the Guardians, but they did have some internal conflict, and then when the Thargoids were introduced, they weren't exactly friendly towards the Guardians. So I think it could have been almost a genocide level event that maybe spread them out and diversified them a bit.
I mean, they did die out. They went extinct from what we do know today.
Is it
Yeah.
known how fast their space travel was? Did they get around like we did, or were they bound to sublight speeds?
They were not FTL as far as I'm aware. I believe they were just slow space. So like us in the beginning when we first sent out the generation ships, I would imagine that
Yes!
that's probably what happened to
Strike one on the board for monkeys. We win again.
totally.
We win again using tech that we totally stole from the bugs.
Suck on that, lizard
Yeah.
people of space. Monkeys win.
But then again, when you see how effective our SRV's weapons are against their sentinels, yeah.
It's true.
So-
Dude. I
So we
watched.
could
I
say
watched.
we are more advanced than the Guardians.
I think their weapon tech is significantly more advanced than ours was.
Hey.
Yeah,
I
Because
watched
they
the.
were a world war.
I watched the entire
I mean-
Terminator series before I went off fighting Guardian Sentinels, and they ain't shit. All right.
I mean, yeah. So they ain't shit, but how old are they?
This is true.
I mean, we can't really compare how their technology was developed compared to ours when they went extinct. What we do know is that they developed some kind of AI that was capable of pulling that off. But I don't think we really can compare the technology levels.
Look, all I know is that we developed an Austrian with a titanium skeleton that you could pull his skin off of, and they have floating drones. Like they've got flying Roombas. So I think we win. I still think we win. That's 2. 2 for monkeys. Yeah.
We still don't know how they look like, actually.
Yeah,
Or do we?
I've seen some renders come across my desk, but nothing been confirmed.
So we got a question from Bestie Wonder. Do you think that Guardian bases can be spread beyond the galactic core, as we haven't found one because we didn't look hard enough?
I think it's possible. Based on the number of bubbles that I've seen so far, which accurately counting right now, it looks like we're at 7 bubbles. I think it's definitely a possibility, yes.
7 bubbles.
Yep.
Relatively close
Wait.
to our bubble,
Hold on.
or also further away?
Can I back up? When
We should
people
start
say
giving them
bubble,
names.
when people say bubble in general, they think of the kind of weird amalgamation that is human populated space. When
These are
Canonn says bubble, what do you guys mean by that term?
So the easiest way to explain it is small groupings that are far enough away from other groupings to show us a rough overview. I can throw a link in if someone wants to share it.
Sure, put them in radio chatter so everyone
So
can look at
like
them.
a group of settlements that are independent from each other.
So if you're on Mac, I'm sorry, but that map's not going to work. But if you open up that link and hit the little gear and turn off the Milky Way, you can kind of get an overview. This map includes not just Guardian Ruins, Guardian Structures, but also Brain Trees, which we've determined are in some way, shape, or form related to the Guardians because they only show up around Guardian Ruins and Structures. But obviously, the largest bubble is the one closest to populated space. It's easily the most explored, but there are little bits and pieces in the fourth quadrant and in the second or in the first quadrant. They're big enough that we can classify them as bubbles.
Okay.
Hmm. But
Follow-up
it is
question?
theoretically possible to find guardians like around Beagle Point.
Oh,
It-
Do you think?
easily. It's just there's that region is explored a lot less because obviously we've explored a lot more closer to the human bubble.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, that's why Distant Worlds is here.
You guys are doing some awesome work out there. Not to toot my own horn here, but with the amount of data that we've gathered with our plugin for EDMC, since DW2 kicked off, the data has skyrocketed.
Shoot a link for that plugin
Oh yeah.
at me because I use EDMC and I didn't know about that plugin. So
We had previously made
I
one
am sorry.
specifically. We had made one previously explicitly for DW2, but it was a prototype, which wasn't doing everything that we needed it to. But we have since refined that quite.
I was gonna say, I'm always happy to share data for those who can do more with it than I can.
Canonn R&D, the Google of the future.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm mostly looking for either extremely rare stuff or just interesting looking stuff when I'm out there exploring. I don't really collect data or analyze
So-
it.
Releases. Well
The nice part about our plugin right now is for all of the geological and biological stuff, all you have to do is land and scan it. There's no forms to fill out, nothing. It's all done in the background.
Yeah. Okay. When speaking of geological and biological sites, recently there have been discoveries of these crystal shards where you can get one specific material in huge quantities, like polonium and other rare stuff.
Well, the crystal forests.
Yeah, um, it kind of surprised me that those just started popping up in in stage 3 of Distant Worlds 2, and I haven't really heard of them before. So, can you actually tell if those have been found prior to that in different regions, or could those just be region bound?
No, so the two new discoveries since 3.3 are the Ammophora plants, I think is what they're called. Very few of those. I think we only have about 6 confirmed sites on those. The crystalline shards, the CS sites, those are also new from 3.3, and they have only started showing up since then, and I think we have about 155 of those confirmed.
Yeah, and I don't mean since 3.3, but since the Distant Birds expedition reached waypoint 10, I think it was. Because prior to that, I didn't hear anything about that.
Give me a sec. I might actually be able to pull up our records to see when they showed up, because I think the first few finds were from Draco Mercitator, but I don't know if he is DW2 or not.
I am, just as a side note, I'm currently looking at just poking around at our map, and I do find it a little funny that if you go into the geology view and toggle off the Milky Way, you can very clearly see the path that Distant Worlds 2 took.
Wait, come
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, so if you go to the GeoBio maps from that link your guys' amount of fumarole and gas vents and geysers and all of the GeoBio stuff just exploded. That's why I was so happy to get even just a small percentage of you guys running the plug, because the data that we're gathering is ludicrous.
So let me just see how do I turn off the galaxy there?
Little gear, top right.
Toggle Milky Way. Ha! Funny. Not bad.
Yeah, you can see just some straight lines on the map that are just clearly the Distant Worlds 2 route.
Awesome.
Now I'm curious if there may be future expeditions visible on that map too.
It would not surprise me.
So what
It really looks
exactly
awesome.
are you doing with all that data?
Typical science stuff. Before 3.3, I would have told you we were doing science on how to figure out where to find more sites, but 3.3 kind of ruined that little bit of fun. So, we don't really have a reason. We're that
Curious?
group that collects everything. The goal of R&D was we have the three big guys. We have EDSM, who handles all of the stellar and body and all that data. Then you have EDDB, who handles all of the market data. Inara, who handles all the group data. And then Canonn is poised to jump into handling all of the science data in partnership with EDSM. Anther's a personal friend.
No follow-up for that. You were so R&D still stands for research and development, right?
Yep. So we handle all of Canon's records of data in a semi-nice format. We're getting, and then we also do development for our tools. We're kind of the baby in the Elite Dangerous community developers. We're the newest of all of the tool developers.
So is there any way for the average commander to access your database, specifically looking for things that are not on EDSM or EDDB or Inara?
We are getting to that point. R&D is currently working on a front end. We're actually looking to probably partner with EXTool, if you guys have heard of that. Sileo is also a good friend of R&D, and he's actually in the process of joining R&D, and we're trying to merge our stuff. And most of our data, though, does require at least some level of verification. Canonn, unlike most of the other APIs, is really strict on that, in that in order for a report to be approved, all the data has to be in EDSM first, which kind of sucks for console users, but at the same time, we have to maintain at least some kind of accuracy for it.
So wouldn't I don't think it's the next question I have is not specifically tailored to you, but would there be a way for the console gamers to have their journals exported so they can actually upload it to EDSM or something like that?
I am a member of EDCD, the community developers, and we have been talking to Frontier about it. They are avid in the fact that, yes, they want to allow something like that, and they kind of given us some information on how we can do it. I think EDSM is still prototyping, pulling that information in. But the biggest roadblock for console users right now is their console manufacturers. Frontier actually had a plan in place to be able to have at least an equal footing when it comes to journal data, but both Sony and Microsoft are blocking it due to typical legalese bullshit.
That's bad. Well, I
We're
thought
hoping-
at least for Xbox it would be easier.
It's getting there, and Frontier have expressed to us that yes, they do want to get to that point. It's just going to be slow coming.
Okay, so you are working on a new front end to access your database, but there already is data that can be accessed, like
Oh yeah.
for example, the most prominent ones, Death's Hope. When you look that up, you get a link to your Canon page. What else can you find there? What kind of stuff is there that you can take a look at?
So there's kind of a split here in that R&D doesn't actually run the Canon main site. That's Canon proper. They do all of our articles and science journals and typical journal logging, etc., etc. R&D, we handle just the raw data. So if you've ever seen a Canon Google Sheet that's actually hosted on my own personal Google Drive, I manage all of the raw collection of data. And if there's something you want to see, you're welcome to ping me. If you ping me about the Lagrange clouds, I'm probably going to tell you to walk it off because I'm not touching those right now.
Okay.
Those are a interesting issue.
So about those.
Interview.
Should I go walk it off?
If I recall correctly, our plugin does collect the info on them. We just don't have any where it's displayed right now, right?
We have the information. Our plugin collects everything. There are some things that we filter out, like I don't really care if you're in power play or if you're doing missions. We actually disregard all information. The only thing that we care about is science data. So I have the data. I'm just not displaying it yet because I'm not totally comfortable with the amount of accuracy. There are some problems that we've addressed with Frontier, and I'm hoping I can work with them to help us clear up some of that information.
What kind of problems of accuracy are there?
So the big problem with clouds right now is I can't tell you how many clouds are in a system because I can't deduplicate the information I'm given is just there's a cloud here. And if 10 other pilots jump into that same cloud, I have 10 other reports of that cloud. But there could be one cloud, there could be 5 clouds, there could be 10 clouds, but I don't know.
Okay. But do you have a rough idea in what kind of systems clouds are more likely to be found or not?
I can give you the systems that currently have reported clouds. I can actually share that link. We have what we call a debug sheet where all of our information is dumped into anyway. Let me grab that link real quick.
But it hasn't been analyzed thoroughly yet, or
Not that
Do
I'm
you guys
aware
have
of.
an API?
We do. It's actually what we've been recently been developing. It's
Because
still
a lot of people would be interested in when they specifically look for those clouds and to get a rough idea where to best look for them. Like, for example, when you're looking for like words, you go to DMAS systems.
Yeah. Also, having an API. Sorry, my tongue's twisted sometimes. Would make it easy for us to actually display information from your
exactly.
databases.
That is exactly
like
the
on
point.
Discord and on. I actually was thinking about showing some stuff on the radio page too, because it's a little empty around this sites, and we still need to make an appealing design. I think showing some Canonn and some EDSM reports or stuff like that, or at least some pictures that show you some information would be a really nice thing to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clear up a question that was put into the interview questions chat. So, as we've been mentioning, the data is uploaded to Canonn. It is accessible, just it's not in some pretty front end format at the moment. And that's
I've actually
what
been
we're
working
working
on that. Yeah, I've actually been working on that the past week, and we've actually just brought in Willie B, who is the developer for Coriolis.
Yep,
He's
we have
actually going to
him
be
in.
helping us out with some of the front end design because unfortunately most of my front end developers are currently AWOL at the moment with IRL stuff. So speaking of which, not to advertise, but if there are anyone listening that is actually interested and well versed in front end development, etc., please feel free to hit me up. R&D is always bringing in people. We're one of the few elite developers that actually run a team of people. I know EDMC has 2 or 3 guys, but Canonn R&D actually has roughly about 10 to 20. So we're always bringing in more people if they're interested.
So, everyone, go ahead. I know you guys know some stuff like that. I know I know we have a few web developers and stuff like that hiding amongst the radio crew as well as our listeners. So
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who can who can do all kinds of stuff. Just need to find them.
yeah,
That, or if there are any other tool developers interested in hooking into our API, please feel free to hit me up if you have questions. I can post a link to our API documentation. Like I said, right now, it's still 50-50. We're kind of split between our API and our Google Sheets. Our plan in the future, few months or whatever, is we're going to archive the Google Sheets and quit using them altogether and just move to a straight API.
neat. Well, I've been I'm not that well versed in spreadsheets, but there's some issues with Google Sheets I've been having that are, well, don't leave the best impression.
You and us both. Canon's been on Google Sheets since long before I was a part of Canonn, and since I somehow magically fell into position of head of R&D, I've been wanting to get away from them for a long time.
Yeah, they're nice when you're working with smaller amounts of data and simpler tasks. Once you start working with a large amount of data and also trying to run calculations on large amounts of data, it falls apart really quickly.
So, do you guys have a Discord while we're at it? Because
So
I'm not
Canonn
on there.
Canonn does have its own Discord, R&D. We have a private channel in there. If you have specific questions for R&D related to some of the stuff that we're working on, you're welcome to jump onto the EDCD Discord, and we actually have a channel over there where you can ask questions and whatnot.
Okay, yeah,
But
I'm on there already. But everyone who's not on the EDC Discord, even users and stuff like that, get in there. Those guys can well, there's a lot of stuff that even end users can help with.
oh yeah, definitely. And if you're into the whole science thing, Canonn does not care what other groups you're in. You could be hardcore PvPers and we'll still take you.
By the way, do you have any cooperation going on with the science department of Distant Worlds 2?
Cooperation, we do try and work with other science groups. I know, as much as I'm not a fan of it, I know others in Canonn are. We do have a partnership with AXI related to Thargoids. Other than that, I mean, I believe our only other cooperation is with DW2 in regards to science. If there are other science groups out there, by all means, you're welcome to contact us and we can see if there's anything we can help with, or, you know.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, one of our hopes with the new API we're developing is that, you know, if people just want to use our data for doing their own science projects, it'll just be open to everyone and they can just plug into the API and be like, oh, hey, you know, give me all the locations for all of the known geysers that
Exactly.
Canonn knows about. And they can just pull all of that data and do their own crunching on it. And that
Yep.
way, anyone would be able to do science with the data we have, regardless of if they're in Canonn or not.
Hmm.
That sounds really cool, actually.
Would there be an application for deep learning in there? Perhaps?
Not probably coming from us. I will admit that all of R&D's infrastructure is hosted on my own equipment, which is larger than most, but not quite as powerful as I would like it to be. So
Yeah,
deep learning requires quite a bit of resources that I'm not entirely confident that we could handle.
I'm just thinking about how to crunch the data if there's so much, because deep learning is very, very good at stuff like that.
Yeah, and that is true. There are some people out there that can somehow magically run this stuff on their workstations at home and crunch these numbers, but I'm not entirely sure we had the capacity for it.
Well,
Yeah,
the
for the moment, our current goal is to just more efficiently store the data and make it easily accessible. As far as doing crunching on it, that's more of a topic for once we're
once
finished
the
with the
first
current
stuff
API
is
project.
Can you give us some figures about how much data do you actually have?
I could give you some accounts here in a few minutes, but I can tell you right now the number of unique commanders with unique finds is just over 600. The amount of reports that I get, let me take a look at this. So
Or
the
for
bulk,
example, how much gigabytes do stored data take up, or is it
we're
more
we're
terabytes?
actually quite efficient. I want to say our database is in the ballpark of only about 2 gigabytes, but most of our data is dependent on EDSM, so we're syncing a lot of data from EDSM and then hopefully in the future sending it to EDSM. And not all of the reports are pushed into sites due to accuracy issues, errors, etc., etc. And we do seem to get a lot of duplicate reports. As of since we released our plugin, which was actually for DW2 back when did DW2 start? January, February, something.
January
January.
13th.
Yep.
Yeah, so 41,160 reports since that release,
That's
That's
and
quite a
enough.
bit.
we're averaging about 100 to 120,000 API requests every day, give or. So we're not quite as large as EDSM yet, but we're hoping to get there.
You probably will have to move to a dedicated machine at some point. Then
You'd be surprised. I might be willing to share some screenshots of Canonn's infrastructure.
I'd be interested.
Big server.
It's actually hosted in the data center that I work at. I'm a systems and network engineer as a day job. So
Okay, so that's a non-issue then.
I have the room for expansion. It's just the power that I have to pay for is what's holding me back.
Yeah.
We
understand that.
have the capability to hold about 60 terabytes worth of data. I have at least that much storage. So we're not going to run out of storage room anytime soon, but CPUs are a problem.
Yeah. We also might have to upgrade the radio server at some point, because with all the software that's running on it, we have had some hiccups already.
Yeah, and I will tell you guys, in talking with Anther from EDSM, DW2 has single-handedly caused him to upgrade his to a significantly more powerful one. You guys,
Yeah, we talked about that when we had him on the interview.
I work with Anther quite a bit, and we talk back and forth, and yeah, you guys really did a number on him.
Well, that's what we're here for. Well, we did that to Frontier servers too, so
Yeah.
that's that. And they even were prepared for us.
It's
So they
At
said.
least they said so.
I mean, you say they were prepared.
Yeah, they say. They say when they were.
They said
But
it.
well, I think we could believe them, but they weren't prepared enough.
To be fair, it was just that one launch where they crashed. For everything else after that, they've been holding up.
Well, we had the one or the other occasion where we still had connection problems, especially after updates.
Yeah, but that's
Because-
not because of Distant Worlds 2.
Well, I say it was in part because everyone wanted to log in from distant worlds because they wanted to get on with their
Yeah, but
exploration.
that's just usual player behavior. That's not really because of
Yes, I know, but I think there were especially well. There were enough more players than usual because of distant worlds. Come, don't let don't.
Yeah, that is true.
What's it called?
So, we've been talking about R&D quite a lot now. So, can you tell us a bit more about the other departments that exist within Canon?
So, primary two are obviously Guardians and Thargoids, dealing with their respective site types. Geobio, also fairly self-explanatory. Of course, we have the large number of tinfoil hatters related to Raxla and etc. Exploration, which is mainly dealing with like orbital level stuff, the clouds, for instance, general body, solar system levels. And then lore of the game, which I'm not actually too well versed in. I don't pay much attention to that one, unfortunately.
So, historians, basically.
Basically, yeah. Typical lore level stuff, and then we actually do have an in-game faction, so they have their own department as well. It's not as widely used. I mean, we maintain it, and we actually have a player faction that jumps around with the Gnosis, so any system that the Gnosis is in is actually under control of that faction.
Yeah.
While
It wouldn't make any sense if that playership was, well, not playership, but megaship was controlled by a different faction than Canon.
yeah, and then it's not as widely used much anymore, but we actually do have a department for our Canonia, I think is how you say it. It's our Colonia faction when that whole event happened.
Oh. And what about Canon Red Wing?
Oh boy. That was an interesting suggestion. We've also had a suggestion for Blue Wing. I believe that whole department, if it's even still there, I actually haven't looked in quite a while. It originally spawned after our previous failed attempt at jumping into the permalock sector and our jump drive failing. Cough, cough.
So I do remember this one. I think a little more clearly. It because this was right around the time I joined Canon. Was a bit, but I joined a bit before the whole cone sector fiasco. But Red Wing was formed because we thought we were going to go into the cone sector and we're going to need a bunch of people that bring specifically anti-Thargoid ships because it's going to be a bunch of Thargoids there. And well, they got their Thargoids at least.
Yeah. It came out of the fact of us needing a defense force. Canon has always maintained its own CPS, which is the Cannon Protection Squadron, but that was mainly for protection from PvPers and griefers while we're doing our science. So I think a couple other groups actually spawned from that whole cone event. There was our Red Wing department, the Gnosis Defense Force, and there was one other one. I think it was related to FleetCom actually.
So far, what I remember from Red Wing, it's been announced as a group that conducts dangerous science.
Yeah. As far the last I heard of Red Wing was it was discontinued or at least put on hold for the time being, mainly because it started to etch into us being completely neutral. Canonn does not participate in any power play. We do not do one-sided PvP. None of that. So,
Okay. But
and it was feared that Red Wing could turn into PvP also, and there were a large number, myself included, that were not exactly okay with us ruthlessly killing the Thargoids without at least trying to open a line of communication / RP there.
Yeah, I get your point because, well, we don't know why the Guardians were at war with the Thargoids, so all we can actually say is that we might have provoked them in a way that caused them to attack us in return.
Exactly. And
But there
we don't
still might be a diplomatic solution there.
exactly. That was exactly my feeling on it. Was I was hoping that we could go down a route where we would have the option as a player to either engage them or at least talk with them, at least open a line of communication. Like,
isn't that what the Guardians tried to do?
Did
I'm a
they?
little I'm a little rusty on their lore. I don't think so. I think the Thargoids just kind of came out of nowhere and started attacking them, similar to what they did to us. But I don't know if there was actually an attempt at a diplomatic solution.
From what I know is that the Guardians figured out the Fargoid language and tried talking to them, but they didn't get any answer.
Yeah, perhaps their translations were that bad that they
Oh,
that everything that came through as an insult.
well, if that's the case, then Nig 1 to the monkeys there, Chankk. Because I think we're a little behind on their translations. I mean, Ramta has given us a little bit with the obelisks.
Um,
It's not
by the
quite
way,
enough.
the going away message that the Thargoids sent for the community manager leaving. Was there actually any more information to get out of it? Except
No,
the still don't understand the air quotes Morse code they sent after the
I think
encoded
that
image.
really was just a gimmick.
Mm. So
Frontier really likes to throw those puzzles out there, and every single time, I got to admit, as large as Canonn is, we tend to solve some of this stuff pretty freaking quickly. And I don't want to claim responsibility for all of it because there are a lot of pilots out there who are not Canonn affiliated that are still good at this stuff and have helped. But holy fuck, we have a lot of tinfoiler pilots.
yeah, I love that those puzzles, but I didn't I wasn't able to get any more information out of it. So I was
I,
wondering if there was any at all.
I want to say it was just a red herring. I think that they were just giving us a line of BS, but I could be wrong. Canonn is too large for me to keep up to date with all of the. I mainly focus on data collection.
Also, when
Okay.
speaking of tinfoil hattery, there's been a publication from the Children of Raxla that states that the club, which is a mysterious group of powerful people that basically control everything, um, tries to lure out the. There's supposedly two different factions within the Fargoids, and one is running away from the other. And basically, their plan supposedly is to lure out the chasing faction into the bubble in order to destroy it. So at least that's what they published.
I don't exactly agree with everything that the Children of Raxila are about, but I am confident in the fact that yes, I do think that there are two different factions within the 100%.
Yeah, that is a theory that comes up a lot. Is that one faction of the Thargoids is purposely attacking humanity as sort of a kicking the hornet's nest.
And
What I'm saying is that there's people who think that some humans purposefully lured the Fargoids into the bubble to attack us.
if they are, they're a really dumb group of fucking humans for sure.
Goit huggers.
There is no question about luring a potentially threat into a primary population which does not have an adequate means to defend.
A potentially existential threat.
Yes. I don't agree with shooting the Thargoids ruthlessly for no reason, like hunting them down, but for defense purposes, if it comes to that, I have no qualms with defending our system. So
Yeah,
we just had a giant operation of gathering Guardian relics to help repair a number of stations that we believed were going to be attacked and then ended up being attacked thanks to Eagle Eye warning us. But I have no qualms about defending people who cannot defend themselves, but I don't agree with just going out and hunting.
By the way, when you mention gathering a lot of Guardian artifacts and Aegis, there's this cooperation between Ramtar and Aegis that has been announced, and this new interstellar initiative thing. Are you looking forward to that?
I hate Aegis. I can't stand them. They are the NSA of the United States. They are a terrible organization.
Not specifically Aegis, but this whole interstellar initiative thing that Frontier announced on their latest reveal live stream, where they where they were presenting the update that we just got, talking about this fairy thing that will be supposedly go to the Guardian ruins to make it more accessible, and basically some potential new storyline kicking off there.
I am willing to put a $20 USD bill on the fact that we are probably going to get a Guardian ship. I will throw that down if anyone wants
You
to
mean
take that bet.
like a real ship, not a fighter?
No, a real ship. I am willing to bet that we're going to get a real ship from this.
Oh, I would be interested in seeing that. But what I would be more interested in would be another SRV model.
Oh, well, there's that too, but I get the feeling we're going to get those regardless. Something that would allow me to haul more than 2 relics back to my ship would be freaking great.
Yeah,
Oh,
something
that
that
would
can
be
roll
amazing,
over.
like a cargo SRV.
Yes. Well, not only cargo, but perhaps a variety. One with more cargo, one with no cargo at all. That just does awesome stuff like flying
Oh,
or
A
or
combat SRV,
or digging holes.
a mining SRV.
Being able to to be what's it called?
Drill.
No, the animal that
racing.
the blind animal that digs underground. What's it
A
called?
mole.
Mole. Yeah, a mole. Crap. SRV
I,
mole.
I don't see Frontier implementing any sort of terrain
Yeah, that
deformation
was
at any point. Not anytime soon, at least.
that was
They're
just me going overboard with my ideas.
they're
I don't really expect that to happen.
the game engine couldn't handle it. And just to sidetrack real quick, because I saw a question in the interview questions. With regards to our map, it is in the process of getting a major upgrade that may take some time. That's the reason why I'm not advertising it, because at the moment it's quite terrible. It is
Um,
slow.
While we're making jumps from topic to topic, I have a question. Could you just quickly explain the options and the stuff that the EDMC plugin from Canonn does?
So let me preface this by saying, if you use our plugin, please, for the love of God, do not turn off auto updates. It is very much in active development, and we do a lot of breaking builds often.
Yeah,
and we
okay.
have a hand-
So let me just quickly interrupt you. Auto update was turned off when I installed, so maybe you should rephrase that to ask people to turn it turn it on actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, either way, if you
Not
go into the
default.
settings, there's a little checkbox that says disable auto update. If that's checked, please I have to sometimes track down commanders, which is not the easiest thing in the world when they're running really old versions and breaking my server. So there's that. But
It
so
says
it.
auto update this plugin, and that's checked by me in my case.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it should be checked. Sorry, I will admit I'm slightly drunk at the moment, so
Oh, no
excuse
problem.
me. So anything, I could list off the stuff that it categorizes and send it to the API, but that would be boring.
No,
Basically,
that's what it shows on the EDMC front end, because it
oh,
says. Let me just tell you what I see right now. It tells me Canonn AX weapon damage partitions, followed by an entry called patrol, and after that the influence status. That's all I see.
so the patrols are something that we are actively working on. The intent on that is if you jump into a system where we have some reported sites, but we cannot confirm the data yet, either previous reports were inaccurate or we need some kind of confirmation, it'll pop up saying, hey, can you go check this out? Scan it, send us the data, etc. We also plan to use that as an alert system where if you're within a certain range of an alert or even, you know, the entire galaxy, if we have something come up that we feel we need to send an alert out, that's the intent on the patrols. The other bits, I'm not quite sure. I know LCU has been doing a lot of side development for AXI, Thargoid stuff. There's a lot of the front end I haven't been kept up on yet. Most of my stuff I'm working on what data is being sent and how I'm storing.
Mm-hmm.
But we hope to hopefully add some more features in there with maybe some manual data entry, unfortunately, for Guardian level stuff like obelisks and data and tying it into our Guardians tool. Maybe hopefully having some kind of pilot tracker, like a map, like a portable version of our where you can actually see where you are and view the sites around you in a 3D way, similar to our web.
Mm-hmm. One more question about the plugin, because the settings don't seem to work the way they should. If I select hide Canonn patrols, because currently I don't need it, it doesn't hide.
Unfortunately, it's a limitation of EDMC.
Ah.
With some settings and our automatic update, it requires you to reboot EDMC. So if you have auto update turned on, it'll download the update in the background, but in order for that update to take effect, you actually have to restart EDMC.
Yeah, like when installing a plugin.
Yep, exactly. It's the same concept. Because of how EDMC works, for the techies in here, it's written in Python, which is how do I want to put it? It's something that requires you to reboot itself in order to take effect of some settings.
Okay, I get that. The Auto DJ has the same issue.
Yep, same concept. And
Though it's not Python.
we get the question on whether or not we are going to develop an EDD discovery plugin, and right now our intention is no, mainly due to the development requirements and the language that's written. I do not have any C developers. If there's someone who is well versed in C# or C++ or .NET, any of that, if they want to come join us and build one, awesome. Totally not opposed to it. But as Canonn R&D is right now,
am coding in C# at work, but I probably won't be the right person for the task because I would probably never finish it.
it's mainly due to the fact of how we recommend Canonn pilots fly. We just don't see a need for it. Most of our pilots, all data submission is done through EDMC. If you want to run EDD on your own, that's okay. You can still use it, but it's just not going to be sending data. And that's usually how we recommend Canonn pilots fly, is if they want to use EDD to look at data that they have, awesome. But all other submissions are done through EDMC.
Chankk, are you awake?
I'm awake. I'm awake. What do you?
He's awake.
People have been asking for you in the radio chat. That's why I'm asking.
No, yeah,
Totally off topic.
No, I'm here. I'm just really quiet because I really don't have anything constructive to add to the conversation. So, I know I'm being drunkenly responsible, if you can believe it.
No worries. Sorry, I probably killed every.
I can ramble on about tech. So if you guys have other questions, feel free to shoot.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the,
actually, I could
list
ask
of
you
questions.
something then about tech. Based on what you're doing with your tool, do you work with other developers such as project other projects who are also integrating things into a kind of unified third party element rather than having, 2, 3, 4 programs all running at the same time in the background to keep track of everything, like are you working with the people who make the I don't know what other tools. I use ED Discovery for my general flight log tool. And
I am in EDCD, and we do talk with developers a lot. I actually have a lot more people asking about consuming our data. I believe Spanish, who runs like the Neutron Star Map, he started integrating us into his tool. I just talked with Anthron integrating into EDSM, but for senders, we're still working on that. I have to write some more documentation on some of our requirements, but I think is it EDDI? I think also does some data submission. It might be consumer only.
ED Discovery and EDDI.
Yeah, I've talked with the developer for EDD. The problem that I have with the way that program is developed, all of the plugins for EDD have to be in his repo. I mean, you can side load some plugins, but for the most part, all the plugins are in his repo. So when you download EDD and you have the plugin list on what you can install, that's all from his GitHub. So if I have to do an update and it's in his repo, that means there's a whole process I have to go through, which makes sense. But for us, we're developing so quickly right now, it just makes more sense to run with EDMC because I can develop the plugin, have my own auto update system, and players can download it if they
Hmm.
But yes, we are not opposed if there are other tool developers out there that want to integrate either sending or consuming from us. Feel free to hit me up. I'm usually always.
Moving away from Canon R&D for a bit there. A little bit more, getting a little bit more personal, if you don't mind. How did you guys actually join Elite? You said you were playing Eve before, and how?
Honestly, I wanted something to use my HOTAS for. I had been playing Arma 3, and I was like, well, fuck, I kind of want something else to play that's more sci-fi themed. So I found Elite.
Yeah, kind of opposite for me, because I bought my HOTAS for Elite.
I think that's what most people did.
But I've just always liked space sim games. Like, I have put an unreasonable number of hours into the X series. And I had a few friends that were playing Elite, and I was just like, yeah, I'll give that a shot. And I ended up playing it longer than they did.
What are your guys' favorite ships?
I'm an Anaconda lover. I mean, it's canon. If I'm doing something, I'm jumping around star systems. I want to be able to jump as far as fucking possible.
I have trouble picking. I own a lot of ships, and I like swapping between them a lot. I spend the most time in my Anaconda because jump range. But my current favorite one for just going out and flying is just going out and doing bounty hunting in my Imperial Eagle that I have engineered. I've put far more engineering effort than you should really put into an Imperial Eagle.
What does that mean?
It goes really fast is what it means. And
900 meters per second, I guess.
yeah, I don't remember what speed it goes, but it's just a lot of fun to be in just a quick little thing.
I have to get fresh water really quick. Be right back.
To be honest, the main reason I wanted to jump into Elite was because I was sick of the PvP level stuff that I was getting in EVE. For other EVE veterans, I was one of the fleet commanders for a player corporation called Goonswarm, for those that actually know.
Boo! Boo!
And I was
I'm just messing with you, man. I don't know about Eve. I just know that there's this irrational hate for Goonswarm.
it's not irrational.
Jeez. Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
No, I was a corporation CEO for a corporation in Goonswarm's occasionally best friends, occasionally mortal enemies test alliance.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yes, Goonswarm is very widely hated, almost as bad as SCC is in Elite.
Well, I mean, like
Don't
personally,
know why.
I never really got into the I don't know. In Eve, the experience. I think I might have said this at the beginning. It promotes itself as, oh, you get to fly your ship around. It's this great simulation, and then you get into it.
Point and click.
You get into it, and it's an RTS with lots of spreadsheets. And
yeah,
I mean, if you like spreadsheets,
and it's like, I mean, honestly, the best experience I had out of all of Eve, since in the past, 13 years or whatever, was Dust, running around the ground and shooting people with guns.
Yep, that was an interesting concept.
It was an interesting concept. I remember hooking up my PS3 to my computer monitor and my keyboard and mouse and just playing it like a PC RTS, a first-person shooter, not RTS.
But like,
and
that was,
to be honest,
for me. That's just my personal opinion. That's my perspective, because I wanted an experience where I was directly involved in things. It was me doing something. And with Dust, it was like, yeah, I pick up a gun, I put on a suit, and I run around, I shoot people in the face, and they die. And that's simple. It's skull-headed, but, it's simple, it's straightforward. Boom, there it is. That's what you get.
At the same time,
and, like,
though, I
with
think there
Eve,
are some...
with Eve, it was flying the ships was more of just drag a thing here, go there, and then look at a clock for 6 hours and wait until I get there. And
There are some things though that I think Elite could take from this. Is I've always been a firm believer of a player controlled market. Like let's give the elite miners something to do. Like let them mine, let them build modules, let them build ships, let them sell those things on an open market and charge whatever the fuck they want for them.
Man, that would be so great.
Like the amount of player involvement that elite could have if they had more control over the environment that like I couldn't even imagine what the fuck would happen if we had our own ability to build player-owned stations and player-owned like moon orbits and fleet carriers and I mean you name it. The amount of resources that would be required for us to actually build a fleet carrier if we had to mine, it would be a whole new game if we had that kind of control.
and I mean,
From
I'll-
what
I'll-
I've heard,
well,
is that fleet carriers are still a thing that will be coming in the future.
Yeah,
It's been pretty much.
Yeah, but
I
how much
was-
more interesting would it be if like as a group you had to gather the resources to build one?
Well, that's
As
the thing
opposed to
that I
maybe
was
a-
gonna build off of, and that's what I was gonna say. That I mean, Nagi interrupted me, but we know fleet carriers
Hold on, I have a phone call coming.
fleet carriers were a concept, and megaships were a concept that kind of got taken off the table for the 3.0 updates and all this stuff up to 4.0. But
It's just been delayed.
it's not. Yeah, they're not completely wiped out. They still exist, and the Gnosis that the Canonn Research Group runs really is kind of the whole beta concept idea of this. But
Also, from how I've understood it.
you can let me finish.
Okay, well,
The
so one thing I'd
but
like to point out is I think
what other things that I've heard of, and I have to say this is just hearsay, and that on top of the hearsay, it's my speculation of the hearsay, is the concept of player faction groups actually taking more of a developmental role in expanding their space. So if we look at Colonia, the major group out there is the Colonia Citizens Network, and pretty much the frontier has kind of expanded Colonia space, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have a new station here, and we're gonna have a new ground base here, and we're gonna have a new thing here. But things that I have heard make me kind of wonder if they're not maybe taking the idea of, wow, player factions actually want to have their own personal player faction bubbles themselves, and expanding that into allowing player factions to say, we want to have a ground base on this moon. We want to have a station in orbit around this world. And then saying to them, okay, you want this, here's what you got to do to get it. And finding out if they can actually accomplish it or not. And if they can,
so
lots of
I do wanna
opportunities to
interject
expand that.
with a few things.
Yes, please.
While a lot of people think that the Gnosis is, beta testing fleet carriers, I think if they let other player factions have a ship like the Gnosis and claim that those are fleet carriers, I think there would be a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, I think
People
don't
overestimate
think,
the Gnosis a little bit.
just a wee bit. So let's be honest here. If I tell you I wanted to jump the Gnosis into a permit lock system, cone sector, I am at the full mercy of FDev approving that. We have a spreadsheet that we update with where we want to go, and we have to calculate our own jump routes within a maximum of 500 light years. We write those things down on a spreadsheet and we send it and pray to God that someone at FDev actually reads our email and approves it. And then if we don't hear that they approved it and it magically jumps next Thursday, that's great. But it has
confirmation yet that next week's jump is happening.
No, I don't. I've reached out and I've gotten no confirmation.
How are you explaining
boy.
this in-game wise? Is the Gnosis ship's AI moody? Is it?
We typically blame the fact that Star Beaver is too busy playing with his spiders. That's usually the case.
So you fell asleep at the helm.
Well, so
Basically.
The other thing to note, and why other players would be disappointed if they had control of something like the Gnosis, is it only jumps once a week. It can do one jump a week.
But from what I've heard, what they were planning is that you will have to gather some kind of resources, for example, fuel, in order to maintain mega ship jumps. And what I've also heard that it's not just fleet carriers, but different types of mega ships that they want to.
That would be cool. I mean, I'll be honest. If they can refine that system and actually allow us to jump a fleet carrier instead of just, it disappears from one system and appears in another on a Thursday.
It also did say something about that happening in real time, so you can actually watch a jump like those or battle cruisers in conflict zones.
Oh, the what are they?
Really
what
cool,
what are those called?
As we've said, currently, the Gnosis, it doesn't even actually jump anywhere. All it is the servers go down for downtime, they move it to a different spot in the database, and then it comes back up.
Sometimes really fucking far from the landing star, those bastards.
Yeah. Usually we're not the ones picking where in the system the Gnosis lands.
No. I mean, we have the option to specify a body, but if we're jumping into a system that's not an EDSM and we don't know what the hell is, yeah,
Frontier gets to pick.
I'm fairly certain they've trolled us a few times by jumping the Gnosis like 300,000 light seconds out to some random freaking.
I think they also did pull that troll on Drew Vega when he designed the prison system. Frontier put some secondary stars in it, and when you jump into that system, you will notice you end up at one of those secondary stars, and you have over 100,000 light seconds to go to the nearest station.
So there's a permit lock system quite close to me. I wonder what that is.
You and me both. We have cataloged quite a number of them, actually.
Well, Mykl, you're at
all the other systems.
you're at 11, right? So you're probably heading north. So
I
can't
understand you talking all at once.
You're at waypoint 11 on DW2. So heading north, there is a kind of weird cloudy bubble that if you go directly north on the actual axis line, you can get past it. But if you try to go straight to Beagle, you cross through it and it won't let you plot. And I think it's called it's not Blea, it's like Playa or something like that.
Truik Shoe. No, Prae, P-R.
Yeah, Prae, that's it.
6.
Yeah, that's what it is. Prae. Sorry, not Blea. Prae.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going straight through there. I was just wondering if that was the region everyone's talking about on their way to Beagle Point, but seems so. Not giving me any trouble though. Sorry, not quite the interview stuff that was intended. Sorry.
Not as exciting as this cone sector story.
I mean,
that nobody ever wants to talk about. It's just like,
sorry,
it was a thing, it happened, shrug, don't speak of it again.
Here's the thing that annoys me about the cone sector. Here is what bugs me so much about it. Technically speaking, it was a fun event. I was there, I was fighting off Thargoids around the Gnosis, and it was a lot of fun. The way it was announced and way the lead-up was handled, not so great.
Like, I won't say who at Frontier, but in my discussions with some Frontier employees after the aftermath of that, they were not enthusiastic about the backlash either. So I would suspect that that kind of thing may never happen again. It's possible they may work with some player groups, but never to the level of what was happening before Cone Sector.
Yeah, and see the thing is that like I feel like if this was more of an expected result, like if it was more expected that the Gnosis was going to fail to make the jump.
I did expect it. So it's pretty obvious to me.
Yeah, I mean in hindsight it seems really obvious, but if I don't know, if it was hyped up a little differently, or maybe I feel like it could have gone over better if in all of the hype posts that both Canonn and Frontier did, if like there was a little more communication and if the hype was more about the danger and less about the exploration, maybe that whole event might have turned out better.
Yeah. But that's always the thing with communication with Frontier. I mean, that's one major point many people have been complaining about for a long time. And
Yeah, I mean,
I don't really
I was
think
really annoyed when it first happened because I had taken the day off work just to
oh,
do stuff, and I will admit the first few hours were painful but a little
messy.
hilarious at times. I think my favorite part was
I
when
was at work at that day. I didn't take off a day, and I was oh wow, there are interceptors EMPing the ship while you're launching.
that
That
was that
sounds fun.
honestly that was my favorite part.
And when I
It
got
was
home,
absolutely hilarious to see someone taking off then just get EMP'd.
but when I got home, it was only scouts left, so
Yeah.
I missed that
The
part.
Gnosis opening fire on people trying to defend it, that was a bit less fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the AI kind of took a shit there, or RP level.
Yeah.
The thing I kind of feel bad about now was after the Cone Sector event happened, we actually did have a couple of Frontier people in the Canonn Discord, and I wasn't exactly nice to them, so I kind of feel bad. But
Ooh.
yeah,
I
let's
mean,
just say Frontier
that did,
definitely got some negative backlash after that.
yeah. I mean, which is unfortunate because when you look at it, like if you ignore all of the lead up to it, the actual event at its core was pretty neat. It's the first time we've been able we were ever fighting Thargoids like on top of a station like that without someone doing some shenanigans to drag one over. So first time ever fighting like on top of a station like that. It was really interesting to be able to fight this new Thargoid variant and have a station nearby so like wings fighting these Thargoids could like have a wing member go back to the station and repair and then rejoin the fight later. And it was fun. It's just the lead up was a little mishandled.
Yep.
So, what would you say that the Cone Sector failure to jump was as mishandled as what was it recently, the Thargoid mothership invasion of Sol that didn't actually happen?
Wasn't
Well,
that
that
just
was an April Fool's
April
joke.
Fools? Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, that.
hey, I'm holding people accountable here. We're asking the hard questions that need answering.
No.
Yeah. Funny enough, because of the Cone Sector event, the only interceptors I've ever killed are the most dangerous kind.
The Hydras.
Yep, I've never fought any of the others, but I've killed
Okay, that is impressive.
yeah, but I've killed well, I didn't kill them solo, mind you, but as in a
Yeah.
wing, I killed 3 or 4 of them.
It's still from what I've heard from. I've only really fought the Cyclopses, which are the easiest ones. But from what I've heard of how much damage they do and everything, and that's
So the funny thing
still
is, I don't know if this is still true, but I know it was true at the time. The swarm does more damage the more people are fighting it. I think it's technically a bug,
oh, yeah,
but it's
but
also like a
they addressed
self-balancing
that.
thing.
They addressed that in the patch notes in the latest.
Oh, did they?
Yep, that was
So
a
is
bug.
that fixed now? Does that make them really easy when you're in a wing now?
They said it is fixed. I don't have any confirmation on that, but I
Oh, okay.
haven't looked into the forum
But
threads. So
I do know what it was is to steal an Eve term for this. The number of people on the grid determined how much damage the Thargoid swarm does. So the more people fighting it, even if they're in separate wings, the more damage the swarm would do.
to explain people, grid in this case translates to instance.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so the more people in the instance, the more damage the swarm did, and it made it to where if you brought in 10 people, the swarm would just insta-gib people,
Wow.
and it was kind of funny. But also when you have 10 people there, the amount of flak being thrown around the swarm also doesn't live very long. So trade-offs.
Yeah, everything's got the pros and cons.
Yeah.
It's not there. Sorry, I'm just evading a star. Nagi,
If
where
I
did we stop?
if I could ask a general question, then that we like to ask everybody who comes on the radio, and being part of Canonn, you might have a unique answer. If we're coming towards the close of things, is it all right?
I'm okay with it, whatever it is.
All right.
I'm here for you guys.
So yeah, no. Question we try to ask everyone is what experience or sight or thing that you found or thing that you've done or thing that you've been a part of in your whole experience really stands out to you and kind of sums up, maybe not sums up your experience, but really emblemizes your experience and shows what is the one thing where you're like, yes, this is what this whole Elite Dangerous experience should be to you. Anything you found or
Too short. What was your best experience in Elite?
yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Best.
So, the most memorable thing I have, because honestly, I don't play as much as I should anymore. I'm spending far too much time coding. I had never even heard of Canonn. When I was jumping around, doing the usual bounty hunting, whatever, with, I think it was EIC, I think is who I was flying with. I was flying around with one of my buddies, and he's like, "Oh, hey, did you hear about these alien ruins that just got found?" And I'm like, "No, I hadn't heard anything about it." So me and him fly out there and open, and we arrive at the first Guardian ruin site, the first beta site that we ever found. And there's 2 or 3 other people driving around scanning these things, and I'm just, what the fuck is this? Ridiculously cool. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I started jumping into the research of it. I found Canonn, started working with other pilots, and it's just, your mind gets blown because I'm coming from a game of Eve where I'm used to working with thousands of other pilots, and then I get into Elite, and it wasn't quite there for me yet. Like I hadn't really gotten in with a bunch of people yet, and just getting back into that feeling of being around a whole bunch of other people all working towards the same goal. It was a refreshing experience. Best experience I've had.
Mine, I kind of have two answers for this because it's like it's kind of opposite spectrums for this. But one reason I do really like this game is partially its community, and a big part of that is I, I although again we've talked about how no one really likes to talk about the Cone Sector event anymore, but just seeing how the community came together for that one, because like one crazy example is you had everyone's favorite person to hate on, Harry Potter, escorting explorers past the Thargoids to get off the Gnosis, as an example, and forming up, and a bunch of people forming wings to like help people that were in totally unarmed and barely armored ships get out of there and get back to the bubble. And just sort of like the way the community sort of like rallied around that a little bit.
It was pretty amazing. And for those that are unaware, Harry Potter has been a long-standing member of Canonn who actually listens to our rules, which is an amazing. It's an amazing concept in and of itself that he actually listens to our non-fire rules within our private group.
Yeah, it is the funniest thing. You come across him in open and he will absolutely kill you, but if you come across him in the Canonn private group, he is completely harmless.
What was your other one, LFO?
The other one is just, I don't know. It's I have one buddy of mine who's one of my friends who played Elite before me and got me into it, and he's one of the few still playing it. And just, I don't know, occasionally we'll just go out to some random planet and do like the weirdest stuff. Like I'll jump an SRV off a mountain and yell "catch me," and he'll try and like fly his cutter underneath me to catch me as I'm falling through the air. Or there's one time I just jumped an SRV off a mountain and just tried flying it through a canyon for as long as I could. Just a lot of like planet side shenanigans, and that's always been a lot of fun to me. It's just messing around with friends and just having fun that way.
Yeah, I like that part too. Except that all my IRL friends dropped the game already.
Luckily, I still have like three of my friends that are still playing.
To answer one of the questions from the interview questions, I have not personally been on an expedition other than Canonn affiliated one. For instance, I'm not currently participating in DW2, mainly just due to I have some IRL stuff and I spend too much time coding.
Coding is an addiction.
It is. I probably have more fun writing and storing the data from this game than I actually do playing it, which is weird to say, but I actually do find enjoyment in this.
Well, it's still part of the game.
It's true.
I think
It's just
that goes for many modders for many different games out there.
It's just an extension of the spreadsheet addiction for me.
It's true. It's that habit. That being said, though, I did just buy an Oculus, and holy fuck, this game is a whole lot different when you're playing in VR.
Oh, so
don't make me jealous. I want
big
VR,
thing
but I
that
can't
changed for
afford
me is I got a Vive and I played Elite in it, and it was really different and it was really cool and I liked it. But it didn't really hit me until I actually upgraded my video card enough so that I could get I know with the Vive you want to hit at least 45 frames per second in VR so that it can do some weird stuff to make it seem like 90. And once I hit that point, like, I don't know, just some switch flipped in my head, and my brain just started believing the VR on a whole nother level. And it hit me when I was like walking around the bridge of my ship and found myself instinctively ducking underneath metal bars.
Yep. I can totally relate to that. I'm in the process right now of trying to find a like a cockpit seat or something that I can set up to play this, because that immersion is fucking ridiculous. Like, it is crazy. It's a whole other game in VR. And honestly, buying the Oculus might be the one thing that gets me back into playing Elite more than what I have been the past year.
Yeah, it's also made me a lot better at combat, just because of the ability to just have more awareness around me.
Yeah.
It's
I,
also
I
Alright.
made
really
me a
want to
lot
play it in VR. It's a shame. It's so expensive still.
It's
Yeah.
made me also a lot pickier about what ships I fly, because suddenly the shape of the glass on the cockpit matters a whole lot. And it's one thing that makes me sad, because I spend so much time in the Anaconda, which has no vertical visibility at all.
Well, I recommend the Phantom. Awesome cockpit there.
I don't
Yeah.
like underslung cockpits.
Go ahead, Nagi. What do you got?
Well, it's not placed very well in the ship itself, but it's still one of the cockpits that allows for
Best
pretty
field of
much,
view.
yeah, biggest field of view, and for especially looking downwards while
I
flying.
think
It's
see,
the
pretty awesome.
best you've got from the Lacon ships, and yeah, after that is surely the Phantom, and also the normal
Mark
crate
II, of
Mark
course,
II.
too.
Yeah.
see, I want an upside down crate. That's what I want.
Oh, okay.
That's all I want. Just give me the crate, but make it upside down.
Right. I think we can wrap it up here.
You want to wrap it up? So, no other questions from the audience. Have you looked at the chats, the restream chats?
Yeah,
No
that
questions
one's
there either.
been quiet since a while.
All right. So if there isn't anything left, why keep on dragging it out? All right. Anything else you want to add, guys? I mean, yes, you, Mehafi, DM, or Eli. Anything you want to talk
Install our
about,
plugin.
get out there, or something like that? I mean, the radio is there to advertise you guys also, so go ahead if you have something like that.
We definitely need more people running our plugin, because the more data that we get, the better we can make that plugin. And if you guys have bugs, you can either submit them on our GitHub issues page, or if I need to give a link to the DW guys for our, we have a support channel on there too. But and then obviously, please, if you guys have any development experience, please hit me up, because I can never have enough developers. It's ridiculous how many ideas that we come up with, but we don't have the right people to.
Oh, I forgot one important thing to ask. I've been putting that question on the back burner all interview. I don't know if it says I've been not really. I've lost track once or twice. But are there any things that you, as a team of Canon, have discovered that stands out from the rest?
So the Ammophora plants are what is most interesting to me. They don't really have a scientific benefit other than the fact they are rare. Either we're not looking in the right place, or I'm just not getting the data, one or the other, because I have a very small set of data for the plants, and I have no idea about where they spawn, what kind of metrics I'm looking for on the bodies, and I'm planning on doing a couple Canonn missions. We sometime plan out some goals for our pilots to find. Like I have a couple other verification stuff for those that are bored. But finding the plants, they may have some kind of significance, I think, just due to their rarity.
Okay. Anything else? No. I think I can keep asking that all the night. All night. Yeah, my English is getting worse and worse. So, all right. Let's wrap it up here then. Was great having you. Except I couldn't. I have to listen to the interview again because I already forgot half the stuff again. Yeah, but I hope everyone enjoyed what you had to tell us. And
We've been here
any
with
final?
DJ
No,
D
that's not yet.
Maffey. Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
No. Any final words? Any words of
Oh,
wisdom? Say something smart.
Yeah, synonym smart.
You're asking a lot from someone who's just drank 3 bottles of sake.
Sake. Smart. Okay.
That's all I got.
Now I can give Chankk the go. Please, Chankk.
All right. You've been listening to us here on Distant Radio. We've been talking with Mahaffey, DM, head of Canonn R&D, and Oedipus.
I'm sorry, what?
You almost made me spit out my
There were several letters in that pronunciation that do not exist in my name.
Eli Powell.
Just call me Eli.
Eli. There you go. We were talking with Canonn. Hey.
Yes, epic. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening, tuning in, watching, and stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you still have questions about any, what you can do that after I am done.
Okay.
Interrupting you. Yeah, thanks for listening. If there are still questions, or if you have want info on how to contact the guy from Canonn, if you missed it while we've been talking about this, just ask us in the radio chatter, or DM is just posting links there. Please do. That's the best way. Yeah. Then Nagi has some announcements to make.
Yeah. So originally we wanted to do an interview with a special guest tomorrow. Still not happening. There's still some issues to be solved, so stay tuned. But what else is happening tomorrow is Commander Ascorbios will be hosting the broadcast as Josh is still away on the honeymoon, I think, and he's got something fun planned, so stay tuned for that. And I think next week we might do another roundtable thing now with the fleet reaching Beagle Point. It might be a good time to reflect on the expedition, so I'm proposing that.
Yeah, I think we should get Aramis or Dr. Kai in here too for that.
Speaking about Aramis, that's planned for the week after that.
Okay, so Aramis is banned from the roundtable. Okay.
Hold on.
It's not what I said.
Let me clarify. Do you guys mean Artemis, like as in the ex-Canonn?
No, Aramis Kamsel, the fleet comp chief and Distant Worlds organizer.
Okay.
Ex-leader of Children of Raxxla too.
Yeah. But then we should ask Dr. Kai or someone like Satsuma or anyone who wasn't on there yet, just some of the organizers from Distant Worlds, not just the radio crew.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. But that's behind the scenes talk. Why do we do this on air? once again, everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions. Yeah, we will see you guys next week at latest, because Dangerous Cosmology. I hope we will have another episode next Wednesday, since we've missed 2 already. Besides that, of course, don't miss out on Sunday's show with Kenny. That is happening as usual, and also always keep an eye on the schedule for live updates, because it updates live. So if a DJ changes something, it immediately is just being displayed on the schedule. Anyway, once again, thank you for listening. This was Distant Radio 3305 with our weekly interview, and enjoy the auto DJ, and don't forget to train it while by making requests. Oh, Nagi, stop that.
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, you just made noises by moving around your microphone or something like that. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Have a good night, and see you guys around. Bye bye.
Bye.
Galaxy calls, a chant from the stars to come live in the core. We'll jump together, my friends. Every flash of light's another hand to carry the weight. Jump on board, into those cars. Or will the wandering souls come and lend a hand for the distant world? Take a blast or two, cause in those pristine rings there's a fortune for you. We'll work together, my friend, as the mother load cracks. This might come to an end. Jump on board, into those chords. Or will the wandering souls come and lend a hand for the distant world?